Testing, testing. Hello and welcome to another Carrot Scrap stream. This is not the full stream. You are here early. You're here in the pre-stream. This is behind the scenes. This is bonus content on the DVD. And I'm testing my audio to make sure it sounds good. Hello, hello, testing. Testing. We're all testing our audio here. Testing, testing. Testing, 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 testing. Oh, it sounds pretty good. All right, everybody. It sounds fine to me. I will be right back. After this short musical break, I will return and we will start playing some Marvel's Avengers and talking about Star Wars, so don't go anywhere. We'll return and we will start playing some Marvel's Avengers and talking about Star Wars. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Carrot Scraps YouTube stream. And by another, I mean the second on YouTube, that is. If you're watching the VOD, if you're unfamiliar with me or my channel, this is abnormal for me. I don't normally stream on the YouTube, but we are streaming here today for a very expressed purpose. If you want to check out my main streams, I normally do them on Twitch, which is just Carrot Scraps, one word. And then my main YouTube channel, where I do a lot of, content, a lot of YouTube content, a lot of video essay stuff, and a lot of throwback content. I don't know what you want to call it. I do a lot of different stuff on YouTube. But my main YouTube channel is just Carrot Scraps, one word. And I'd love it if you'd check it out if you enjoy the stream or if you enjoyed any of my content here today. But today we are going to be ranking ranking my favorite of the 9 Star Wars episodes. And we need some disclaimers before we get into that, but let me get into chat. Hey there, how's it going? I'm doing pretty good, Juan. Thanks for joining me today. Happy Star Wars Day to everybody, absolutely. How long have you been streaming right now? It's early or late? You're early, very, very early. I just started. Yeah, happy May the 4th to everybody. So fun fact, I mean, I guess this isn't really a fun fact. I have a cat named Hershey, and we decided that her birthday was May the 4th years ago. And so it's her birthday today. Now, obviously, we don't know that for sure because we weren't there when she was born. But, you know, that's her birthday. Good for her. Yeah, so to anybody who normally watches me stream on Twitch, who's watching me live right now, you know, I've been wanting to do more YouTube streams. But I didn't really want to put them on my main channel. I like to, you know, I have a lot of pride in my editing. And so this is a raw Carrot Scraps channel where I get to be raw on YouTube. Oh, also, I had a lot of technical difficulties last time, and I think not to jinx it, I think I fixed the camera problems that we've been having. We still might get it, but definitely not as frequently because I've been doing a lot of tests, and it should be good. We should be Gucci. But yeah, so I like to come on here and stream when I have, like, an expressed purpose, you know? On Twitch, we can be a little bit more loose. We could talk about Avengers and stuff like that. But here, we have an express purpose today. But how's everybody doing today? How's everybody's May 4th? You got any plans? You know that I didn't know what is ranking of your favorite Star Wars movies. Wait, you know that I don't know what is my rank. Oh, you don't know what your ranking is? Yeah, I mean, you know, I watch a lot of movies with my roommate and my producer. Quote unquote, my producer. And whenever I turn to them and I'm like, what would you rank these movies we just watched? My roommate can do it, but my producer is like, I don't know. I don't like ranking movies like that. I liked them. What do you want from me? And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. Not everybody's gonna be into it. Roxanne. Duck. Lore. Look, Duck, there's lore on the wall. New York, specifically, has had some cool little lore moments in this game that I kind of have ignored. We're probably going to be last time we played, we mostly played Hulk, and I think today we're mostly going to play Kamala. Been feeling Kamala today. Somebody requested her on Twitch, and so that's what I'm feeling. So here's the thing. I think I have, for the Star Wars episodes, first of all, just like the X-Men ranking I did last time, which you can go back and watch if you are interested. Like we did last time, you know, I liked all the X-Men movies, and I like all the Star Wars movies, and, you know, there is a caveat to that. I guess I like all the Star Wars episodes. We're not going to be talking about the Clone Wars animated film. I actually don't dislike that movie. It's not great, but I don't dislike it. I like it, and I like the show. But we're not talking about that one today. We're not talking about Rogue One. I actually don't like Rogue One. I'm not a fan of it. It's all right if you are. But I'm not super into that movie. And I've never seen Solo, so I'm not going to be talking about those 3. We're going to be talking about the main 9 films, though. I can't rank 23 films at once. You're talking about for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's a fun ranking list to do. Yeah, MCU films. I'm sure we'll do a stream like that someday. You know. But oh, also disclaimer. I'm gonna have sniffles this video. I hate it, but that's just the fact of reality. Ope the humanity. We just gotta live with our sniffles. I'm playing a villain sector right now, if you're curious. Anyway, let's without... Oh, yeah, so what I was going to say was, I think I have, you know, a pretty solid ranking for my top, like, 3. and a real my most solid ranking for Star Wars episodes is top 3 and bottom 3. Everything in the middle, it gets a little iffy, and so that could definitely change. So I just wanted to put that out there really quickly, that like I'm confident in my top 3 and my bottom 3, but everything else is just it's a little nebulous. So maybe we could do some negotiating. But anyway, let's go. Let's start with number 9 on my list of favorite Star Wars films. And again, I like them all. You know, I don't think they're all good films, but I do enjoy them all. You know, I have a good time. So number 9 is You Always Seem to Be Having Flu. I have really bad allergies in all senses, like in food allergies and like, you know, seasonal allergies. And which is kind of interesting because when I eventually move, apparently I'm allergic to the specific allergens here on the East Coast. And so, or in my specific area. And so apparently like different allergens in different states affect me less, you know? My eyeballs is itchy. Anyway, so number 9 is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I know that you're... oh, wait, no spoilers, but I won't read it out loud on the VOD, but yes, I know you know what my favorite is. What are my thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker? We'll have to find out. So yeah, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. This is probably my... Like, I like them all, but this is probably the hardest one for me to get through. I just feel like it's a little dull, you know? There are cool moments in it, you know, and there's a lot of nostalgia in it for me. I can still have fun with it. It's got some really silly lines that I think are funny. You know, we all know the famous ones. Yeah, it just drags a little bit. Maybe if it was shorter, I would be more into it. And it also just has a weird tone problem. I talk a lot about tone in certain movies that don't work for me. And I feel like Attack of the Clones, which I always almost call Clone Wars, I feel like Attack of the Clones has a tone problem. I think it's fair to be the second one in the last. Yeah, it's just, you know, I just feel like it has a tone problem. You know, plenty of other critics have talked about the movie, and I agree that, like, it would have been nice to see Anakin less edgy at this point. It would have been nice to see, like, his kind of, like, optimism, the romance. And I'm a huge fan of romance. I really disliked the romance. Felt like it was very forced and very odd, and very strange. Like, just, so weird. Not very subtle. And then, what's it called? Yeah, the kind of more violent scenes about, like, his mom, like Anakin's mother. Very strange. I like the Obi-Wan scenes. The Obi-Wan sequences are fine. Even, what is it, Dexter Jetster? I'm okay with Dexter Jetster. I don't mind him. I don't mind him or his 50s diner. I'm totally fine with Dexter. But other than that, you know, I mean, you know what? The Obi-Wan sequences are fun, you know? And I think it's a little silly, the whole Boba Fett, Jango Fett stuff. I think that's a little silly. I don't think it needed to be that kind of a retcon. But I still don't mind it. Like, it's not that big of a deal to me. I think it's kind of cool, you know? It's kind of cool to see those origins. It's cool to go from Episode 1 to Episode 9 and see those little things, like, carried out. I'm a huge clone fan, like, a fan of clones in any media, so it's very awesome to see, like... I think the coolest thing about the clones in the Attack of the Clones film, because they don't really get treated like characters. That's really more for the show, the Clone Wars, which does a great job with that. But what I like about the movie is just kind of the mass production of clones. Like, you kind of see this bureaucratic angle of creating clones, and I think that's really, like, gross and cool. So yeah, I like that about the movie. Fire alert. Ooh, is that a band? But yeah, the rest of it, I think its biggest problem is that it's boring. You know what I mean? All the things that I like about it aside, the biggest problem is that it's boring. Oh, there's a cool shot of Anakin where he's, like, flying, you know, on Tatooine. And I really like that scene. I think that's really cool. Wait, was it Tatooine? No, it might have been... Whatever. I don't know where... He's on, like, a little motorcycle bike, and I think that's a really cool shot, and, you know, very reminiscent of previous shots in the Star Wars franchise. So there is cool stuff, you know. Again, like, I'm a fan of the 9 films, so I'm gonna find things that I like about them. But I think it's the most boring. It's the one that, like, you know, we recently, me, my roommate, and you know, my producer, we watched all 9 films, and you know, we watched episode 1, and then episode 2 hit, and everybody was like, oh man, do we really have to keep watching these? Because it really sends the wrong message about what the franchise is about. And what I think Star Wars is about is you know, space fun, you know, space fun and minor drama. That's what Star Wars is about. But yeah, so episode 2, all the way at the bottom. Sorry to hear that, buddy. Best thing about episode 2, other than the merchandise, is what do you call it? The soundtrack, which is the best thing about the prequels in general. Spoiler alert, I don't like the prequels very much. I don't think they're great films. They have a lot of nostalgia to me, and I find a lot of joy from them ironically, and sometimes unironically. I also like them as just like the beginning of a saga. I think they're kind of interesting, but overall, I feel like they all could have been accomplished in one movie instead of 3. I would have liked it if they'd done 3 compelling films, but I feel like the story they chose to tell could have and was done in one movie, which was Revenge of the Sith. But the best thing about them all, and Attack of the Clones, or sorry, yeah, Attack of the Clones, is the soundtrack. Just amazing soundtrack. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. I think the third one was the best from the prequels. Well, you're absolutely... Well, yeah, okay, I agree. Which might be confusing, because number 8, we're going to number 8. Number 8 on my list is episode 3. I don't really like episode... I like episode 3, but, like, I do think it's weak. And, I do think it's the best of the prequels, but episode 1 is just... I enjoy episode 1 more, even though it's not as good of a movie. You know, this is where we're talking about, like, subjective, like, opinions and stuff like that. And you know, I can say that Revenge of the Sith, again, is the best of the prequels, and it again, it told the story of the prequels. Like, the 3 movies were about Anakin's descent, and episode 3 told that story more accurately than all 3 movies did, you know? It makes them feel kind of useless. But in terms of enjoyment, you know, I have to put Phantom Menace higher, because I have so much fun with Phantom Menace, and I think you'll be shocked at where I put it on my Star Wars list, especially since I'm saying, you know, Revenge of the Sith is a better movie. Revenge of the Sith has some really good stuff. It's very consistent, but it also, you know, it still has a lot of those weaker moments. It still could have been trimmed for time. It's not, again, I enjoy watching it. I enjoy watching it so much more than Attack of the Clones. But yeah, episode 3 is down at the bottom. I love saying episode 3 quotes without context. You know what's funny, Duck? So on the Discord today, I had asked like everybody's favorite Star Wars movie, and you had said episode 3, and I almost I wanted to reply with "I hate you," and then I was like, oh no, he's gonna think that I'm being serious, because I was just trying to throw out a Revenge of the Sith quote. And I just decided not to, because I was like, I don't want him to accidentally think I'm being angry at him. So I love that you just said that about, like, saying Revenge of the Sith quotes out of context, because I almost did that to you and was afraid that you'd take it the wrong way. I was, like, this close to being, like, so uncivilized, or, you know, I hate you. It's because of the Darth Maul sequence. Well, I guess we'll find out when I get to episode 1. Does anybody want to put any bets on what I think episode 1 is? Where do I rank episode 1? Where could it be? Where could Carrot Scraps and his weird brain rank episode 1? Sorry for blowing my nose on stream. I apologize. Let's emote as Kamala. The final battle with Obi-Wan and Anakin. And that's the thing. That scene is great. And it is really, you know, it is really compelling. I do feel like that scene is genuinely compelling. It's just, for me, it goes on for way too long. It's kind of like the thing with Endgame. If you don't know, I'm not a huge fan of Endgame, and it's because I don't like the second half, or the third half of the movie. The, you know, the gratuitous fight scene. I feel like it's just so much. And that's just me. You know, like, here's the thing. If Endgame or that final Anakin scene was in an anime, then I'd be like, yo, this is the best stuff I've ever seen. You know what I mean? But because it's in live action, because it's in a film rather than like a serialized anime, I'm less engaged for some reason, and that's just a personal thing for me. I love the conflict between the two of them. I love the idea of just, like, we're burning this bridge, like, mentor versus student. It's a really compelling conflict. I wish it was built up to better, but it is really, it feels really good once you're finally there. I just think it goes on for too long, you know, and I think the best interpretation of that is that scene where they're just, like, spinning their lightsabers at each other, and then there's all this silly stuff that just is like, come on, does it really need to be this crazy? Maybe I would have liked it better if it wasn't on a lava planet too, or not a lava planet, but like if they weren't like literally standing in lava, you know what I mean? But you know, Endgame, you know, it deserved, I think, that long gratuitous fight scene. I don't think Revenge of the Sith did. I think it needed to calm it down. I think if I could give it one big criticism, it would be don't have them like dancing on lava. Because it's just, that's too far for my suspension of disbelief. Have them fight on a lava planet. Have them fight for a half hour in like an office building, a space office building, but not in the lava. Come on with the lava. You were the only that I heard that didn't like the final fight of Endgame. Yeah, I know that I'm in the minority there. And here's the thing about Endgame. Like, I know it earned it. You know what I mean? It's been 23 movies. It's been 13 years. It earned it. I'm not saying it doesn't earn it, you know? Like, if you enjoy that fight scene, that's totally cool. It's a gratuitous, fun, you know, celebration of you know, 13 years. That is earned 100%. Not saying that it's not. But that being said, I wasn't as engaged with it. I much more liked the beginning of the movie, the like, you know, 5 years later catching up. I liked the time heist. I thought that stuff was really nice. And there's cool moments in that fight scene. I just wasn't as into it, you know? Again, if it was in a comic, I'd be like, bro, this is awesome. Let this fight scene go on for 10 issues. If it was an anime, I'd be like, yo, this fight scene's going on for 3 episodes. But in a movie, there's just something about it that, like, I'm not as into, and that's a personal thing, you know? It's just my personal taste. I agree. The Star Wars prequels are my favorite anime. Yeah. I mean, they're pretty close. You're gonna tell me that there's not a huge overlap of, you know, prequel fans who also love anime? Definitely original trilogy fans don't like anime. Not all original trilogy fans. I don't want to make any generalizations. I come on just to hear Revenge of the Sith slandered. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm very happy that the prequels have found new love. I hope that the sequels get this love in the future. Because when I was growing up, everybody hated the Star Wars sequels, and I mean the Star Wars prequels, and I remember liking them when I was younger. Keep in mind, I watched the original trilogy and like was aware of the original trilogy as the prequels were coming out, but the prequels were advertised to me as a kid. Like, that was my Star Wars trilogy as a kid, and hearing from like adults who hated it, it was so weird to me, you know, because I was like, it's Star Wars. So I'm happy that it's come back around. Star Wars is going to have an anime series. That would be awesome. Now, what is the 7th place rank? All right, 7th place. And let me refer to my list just to make sure that I'm on 10 right now. So my 7th place for the Star Wars films is, drum roll please, Star Wars Episode 4. No, I'm kidding. Star Wars Episode 9. So, Revenge is 8th. Yes, I'm sorry, Stamp. I'm sorry. I don't dislike the movie. I like the movie. I just don't think it's a great movie. I think, you know, it's fun for a Star Wars movie. I enjoy it. I'm not skipping it. You know what I mean? I much more, you know, dislike Attack of the Clones, but Revenge of the Sith, I feel like it's a little gratuitous and it's a little over dramatic, and I don't like the Yoda scene at the end, and I love the Emperor. And I don't love the Obi-Wan. I love Obi-Wan Adventures. Don't get me wrong. I want Obi-Wan Adventures for sure, right? But in Revenge of the Sith, I like, he's fighting. Oh, I forgot to mention. Even though Revenge of the Sith is at the bottom, it potentially has my favorite Star Wars character, which is General Grievous. General Grievous has always been my favorite Star Wars character, maybe. And definitely of the prequels. I love General Grievous so much. Literally, I remember being in the theater and being like, whoa, who is this guy? He's got 4 arms? I love General Grievous. He was dope. He still is dope. So even though it's at the bottom, I can't get over that lizard robot. But God, I hated his fight with Obi-Wan. It's so weird and like tonally odd. Like Obi-Wan's making all of his jokes. I just don't understand why he's being so goofy, that Obi-Wan, all the time. But I do want Obi-Wan Adventures, which we're getting eventually. What are you doing? Why are you biting plastic? Stop that. Why do you have to bite all the plastic that you see? Go. My cat was like chewing on plastic. I have this little box of controllers, and I put bubble wrap around each controller so that way they don't scratch each other, because I'm crazy. And my cat has just discovered it and is trying to chew through the bubble wrap. Hello there. He appears more in the Clone Wars. Yes, I'm a big fan of the show. Grievous is so freaking cool, man. Yeah, I agree. I love Grievous. This is what I mean, where it's like, you know, this is why my producer turns to me every couple of days and is just like, do you actually like this? Because you complain about it all the time. Weren't we talking about this earlier, where it's like, you know, I'm a Spider-Man fan. That's why I hate Spider-Man so much. It's the same thing with Star Wars, where like, I love Star Wars, but, you know, I'm very critical of it. But not while I'm watching it. Like, it's not like I'm going to sit there and complain about the whole movie. If I watch the Star Wars if I watch the Star Wars 9 films with all of you, like, I would just be like, this is awesome, you know? Maybe occasionally I'd be like, Attack of the Clones is boring or dumb, but like, I'd just be having a great time. Anyway, oh, I also don't like the Darth Vader scene. Like, they could have done that so much better. It's so goofy. It wraps up so neatly at the end, and I feel like they could have left a little more ambiguity. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's just not my favorite. You know what I mean? Like it's not my favorite of the films.
Well done, Avengers.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't a? Oh, okay. I guess he did have a small one. Star Wars fans also hate Star Wars. Yeah, exactly. No, I know. Hello there. That's the Obi-Wan. What does an Obi-Wan say to General Grievous? Hello there. But yeah, so number 7 ranking on my little Rankulon list is Rise of Skywalker. So Rise of Skywalker, and to those who don't know, I do really like the sequel trilogy, and I really like the Rise of Skywalker too. I actually really enjoy the Rise of Skywalker, and clearly I enjoy it more than Revenge of the Sith. But like Revenge of the Sith, it has its problems, and its problems are really frustrating to me. And, you know, the biggest problems of Revenge of the Sith, and there are issues, like little issues, like, you know, there are like conveniences at the start of the film, and like the mystery of Rey's parents, and like, she's like, oh, I recognize that ship. I always dislike that part where she's like, I know what that ship looks like. And it's like, what? It's a spaceship. There's hundreds of those ships. Why would you recognize that one out of all of them? So there's all these little conveniences that I don't like. But the things I really hate about Rise of Skywalker that like cause it to really plummet on the list is basically the entire third act. And Finn, I guess, are the two things I hate the most. Finn is totally underused, and like they even set him up for a subplot and they just deprive him of one, you know? One of the most interesting characters in the sequel trilogy, potentially in the whole franchise, you know, a stormtrooper who is defected, and he even gets to meet a whole platoon of like stormtroopers who defected, and he does nothing with that. Like, they don't do anything with that, and it's super confusing that they do that. The whole movie, he's just yelling Rey, and it's like, well, that's nice, but she's fighting right now. Could you give her a minute? It's just, they did him dirty. Don't like that. But basically the whole third act, I don't like that Palpatine is in the movie. I don't like that they resurrected him. I think he should have stayed dead. I don't like that he is related to Rey. I feel like it totally undermines the really awesome things I liked about The Last Jedi, which is, you know, Rey is a nobody and she is powerful. I feel like that's a really powerful message. And it just totally steps all over that. I don't mind the kiss at the end. A lot of people hate the kiss. I don't mind the kiss at the end. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I would have edited that out. I wouldn't have chosen to do that. And I have my own interpretations of that kiss, but that whole final sequence I'm not a fan of, you know? And I do, in theory, I like kind of resurrected Palpatine. Maybe if they did something more interesting with it, like, let's script doctor, right? Ray. Ray! Finn, probably. I heard that the problem is that it doesn't make much sense, the movie. I guess all the fandoms hate their franchises. I think fandoms just have a very protective, like, that's a really great nameplate for Kate. I think fandoms are just very protective over their franchise, you know? Nobody wants their thing not to be canon. Nobody wants their people get so invested with fan theories and stuff like that. They don't want that to be taken away. They don't want what they love about their franchises taken away. So I understand it. I don't hate Star Wars, but, you know, obviously I love it. I love the 9 films, even though the ending, essentially, of those 9 is something I really dislike. But I still really enjoy them, you know? I'd watch them right now. Right now. Episode 1 to Episode 9, no sleep, let's go. I would do it. And what would be your opinion of the movie being the final chapter of the Skywalker saga? Here's the thing. I think it's a really... I don't think it's a great final chapter. Mostly because of the Palpatine stuff. It's just not a huge, like, point to end on. The things I like about The Rise of Skywalker are more for the sequel trilogy itself. I really like that they do, like, Indiana Jones adventures, and that, like, it's kind of this fun adventure between friends. We finally get to see the main 3 protagonists, like, chill with each other, and I love that. We needed more of that in the previous films, and we didn't really get it. So I love that, but that's not really a great final chapter to end on. Yeah, it's not a great final chapter. You know, it really isn't. And that's why it's so low on the list is... in a general sense, yeah, it is. It's like, yay, you know, good triumphed over evil. You know, Palpatine returned and we got rid of him. Finally, yay. But that being said, it doesn't feel like a great final chapter. I really don't think it is. Again, and I do really like things about it. Kind of like Spider-Man 3, I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I really don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. But the things I dislike, I really, really dislike. It's kind of the opposite of Avengers, where I'm like, you know, Avengers has flaws, but the things I dislike, I don't like them. I don't dislike them more than I love the game or the things that I like. Rise of Skywalker is the opposite. You know, I love the things that I love about the movie, and that prevents me from calling it an awful film, but it definitely misses the mark in a lot of ways. So yeah, so basically this saga ended in the 6th movie for fandoms. No, in my headcanon, the saga ended in Episode 8. I'm not going to edit out Episode 9. I still watch Episode 9, and I still have a blast. But kind of like, you know, my own headcanon for Spider-Man comics, the saga ended in Episode 8. Because I think Episode 8 is a great finale to the franchise. I think Episode 8 really represents what Star Wars is and what Star Wars could be, and has all this hope and has this great, like, final conflict. I think Episode 8 is fantastic. Not to be too much of a spoiler for my ranking, but I think that, you know, that is my headcanon for the headcanon for the final installment of the franchise. I really, really like that final thing, you know, that as the final chapter. So that would be my final chapter. But, you know, The Rise of Skywalker, it's not awful. One of my favorite things about the movie is the Force, like, I call it the Force teleport fight. Yo, that scene is absolutely fantastic. You know, a lot of people don't like the new, like, Force elements. I think adding a new Force ability has been a thing pretty much since the original trilogy, you know? People are like, oh, how did this happen? We didn't build up to it, or nobody trained for this. And it's like, you know, the original trilogy, Luke didn't use Force pull until the 2nd movie, where he needed to Deus Ex Machina his way out of a situation with a snow bear. Like, and that's fine. You know, I don't care. Like, that's totally cool. It could be better, but that's totally fine. And it's the same thing. I love, but Force teleporting is built up to, you know, in the first film, they kind of hint towards this kind of Force connection. Wow, did you see that? That was crazy. The 2nd film in the sequel trilogy, they can talk to each other. And then in the 3rd film, they're finally full-on, like, they can move between space. And it's not totally clear on what or how it's happening, but I kind of like that vagueness. I think it's really, really cool. And more than anything else, as a film, it's a really cool visual filmmaking technique to have these characters fight from across space. I thought it was so awesome, so dope. And one of the coolest moments in the film is when Rey and Kylo are talking to each other. And then he just grabs her necklace, and, like, she's like, what? And like, it's so shocking for the audience and for Rey. I was blown away in the theater. I thought it was so dope. What about that scene where they're all losing hope and then people come to help? I mean, yeah, that's what kind, you know, that scene is a little corny, I think, and it's a little cliche, but that's a perfectly fine scene for like to have in the final chapter, you know what I mean? Like the essentially the main idea being, you know, you thought the universe gave up on itself, but no, people are willing to put themselves on the line to thwart evil. It's simple, you know, and I wish it was maybe a little bit more, but that is a fine message to have in the final film, you know what I mean? So I do like that moment to some extent. What else about episode 9? I have a lot to say about episode 9. You know, I like episode 9, even though I, you know, put it so low on the list. I really don't like the Palpatine stuff, though. Palpatine, I like that he's like this weird Frankenstein monster. I like that he's potentially, like, just been sending clones, like, for his whole life. I would have liked it better if they did like a Palpatine like clone where like somebody like tried to resurrect his dead body, but it wasn't him, and like it created some new monster that wasn't Palpatine, you know what I mean? Or you know, I know it's like a cliche for Star Wars fans, but I would have liked it better if it was Darth Plagueis, you know what I mean? Which I guess it's kind of implied, but I would have liked it if it was, you know, not Palpatine, because call me a nerd, I like that, you know, there was a prophecy and Darth Vader, you know, completed it. And I liked that idea. Now, what is the 5th? No, we're going from 7th to 6th, aren't we? All right, so this is this middle area is where I get a little iffy. Okay, this is I kind of almost want to just say up front, like, these 3 movies are potentially on the same level for me, you know? Because they're just, they're good, you know? They're good movies. I think they're all good movies. All 3 of these are good movies, and they have fun moments, and they are, like, you know, they are peak Star Wars. They are a good template, you know, for Star Wars that isn't going above and beyond necessarily, but is really hitting the mark. And, like, you know, if you want to get an idea of what, like, Star Wars is, watch these 3, you know, which is, you know, I'm going to be ranking these in the center. But I guess I'll just say it. So I'd say episode 7 is my 6th. And, you know, I do kind of want to give it a higher rank. I don't really have a reason to lower it, you know? The worst you could say is that it sets up stuff that it doesn't necessarily know how to, like, where to go with, but I don't have a problem with that. A lot of people seem to think, like, when the sequel trilogy ended, it was like, you know, how could they release, like, this trilogy and not know what they were going to do? And it's like, well, they didn't know what they were going to do with the original trilogy. They were very open about that. There's an interview with George Lucas way back in the day where he's like, somebody asks him specifically, like, do you have, like, a whole book of, like, you know, where you go and what you do and, like, you know, what's gonna happen? And he's like, kind of, but not really. And if you look at the older ideas that he had and where those ideas went, like, Star Wars is very different than what George Lucas intended it to be. So it's just so weird that the sequel trilogy, the only trilogy that, like, they knew what they were gonna do was the prequels, you know? My cat is here, everybody. So I don't really mind that episode 7 did that. It is kind of weird that, like, certain details, you know, were, like, brought up with no idea, but other than that, like, that's comics, you know, that's serialized media. That happens all the time. Setting up a mystery and letting some other writer figure it out. That is classics, like, nerd media, you know what I mean? I think the most of the trilogies don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, I guess you could say that. I guess that might be a more accurate statement for the sequel trilogy, is that, like, of the 3, they didn't know what they were going to do necessarily. I mean, I don't know, because the original trilogy, keep in mind, after Star Wars 1, they made the Christmas special. And that was because they were like, they didn't think of it as art. It was fun, pulpy, like, fiction. And they were like, oh, this is fun with kids. Let's make a holiday special. And now they've tried to get rid of that because now Star Wars is considered this big art thing. But at the time, you know, it really wasn't considered that big of a deal. It was considered just a fun, like, cowboy in space movie. So I kind of don't agree. I kind of think that to some extent, I mean, I think they figured it out. Like after once they started work on Empire, they probably knew where they were going to what they were going to do in Jedi. But you know, I don't think they knew what they were doing when they made the first film. And it's the same thing of, you know, A New Hope. A New Hope is a, well, we can get to that in a little bit. The Christmas special is art. Well, I can't fight you on that. Christmas special is one of the most bizarre things, like, genuinely, no hyperbole, one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. I can't even call it bad. It's just bizarre. Like, I've never seen anything so strange. It's not for kids. It's just for strangers. It's just for, like, bizarre humans. I think I have a copy of it on DVD. You know, ripped, of course, from VHS. Anyway, Episode 7, I actually really like. I really don't have much bad things to say about it. Honestly, I have nothing really bad to say about it. That's it. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about it. The Christmas special is an interesting thing, to say the least. Yes, it's, again, bizarre is what I would say. I love it, though. It's freaking awesome, but super bizarre. Hey, do we need to fight the... Okay, here you go. Coming out of the cave. Like he's Iron Man in Iron Man 1. I think... If I was going to say something critical, I really don't have a lot of critical things to say. I'm getting downed every 10 seconds. I don't have anything critical to really say off the top of my head about Episode 7. It's, you know, it's a fine film. It's, you know, the comedy is a little much for me sometimes, but it's endearing. Oh, here we go. I don't like that it copies the same plot structure of New Hope. You know, but again, that wasn't unique for a Star Wars movie. You know, that happened in Jedi as well, or the first Jedi, you know. So it's happened before in Star Wars, but why is your laser still going off? Major laser. I don't like that, though. I'm not a big fan of it, but I do like the action on that Death Star or Star Destroyer. Not Star Destroyer, Star Killer. Luke Star Killer. What is his name? Yeah, I kind of wish that they had gone with something just a little bit more original than that. I understand, like, the concept of, like, this is a good way to reintroduce everybody, but, you know, I would have rather they just do something new. So that's probably my biggest criticism of the movie, and that, I think that alone earns it, like, the lower spot, but I do like all of the other positives that I have, which is, I like the characters, I like how fun they are. You know, it's a little silly. I'm not a big... I mean, actually, you know what? I'm not a big Harrison Ford fan, but I like what he did in that movie. I think he did a really good job in that film. And he did a great job portraying an older version of the character, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I like the last... I mean, I like the, you know, the Rise of Skywalker. It was exciting. It's a great first chapter for that movie. Even though the Last Jedi undoes, quote unquote, a lot of that stuff, I actually really like having it set up and then where it goes in The Last Jedi, you know? My biggest problem with, because I think The Last Jedi undoes or you know, resolves the conflict of, what's it called? The Force Awakens in an interesting way. It's not like it's contesting it. I feel like it just goes in an unexpected direction. Whereas, you know, what is it called? The Rise of Skywalker, it's like it ignores the previous film altogether, and I wasn't a fan of that. If I'm being honest, I thought that all the sequel movies kind of copied the original trilogy. Interesting. What makes you say that? I think the, you know, all the trilogies can be accused of that. You know, I think there are, and George Lucas has admitted to this with like the prequels. He said, like, you know, I want it to rhyme. I want them to be similar. So, you know, copied is a strong word, but he did want the prequels to be similar to the original trilogy, and I think that was kind of the same intention with the sequel trilogy. I still think that they're unique in other ways, you know, but I don't like that the main conflict is just copied in The Force Awakens. And that's my main thing. That is my main thing. It's a weird thing about streaming on YouTube versus Twitch. Is that I don't know how long we've been streaming for. It doesn't tell me for some reason. Oh, here we go. Yes, yes, it does help me. Okay, cool. Just had to find it. So next up, let's do this. So again, this is really hard for me. I think these movies are really great. I don't really know how to rank them because I think they're really, really great films. It's so hard for me to say. This is really difficult. Again, my top 3 is really... Did we lose? I thought we had more people on our strike team. It's really tough for me to say this. So I think here let me just be full honest. So we're at ranking number 5 and number 4, and ironically, this is where I put episode 4 and episode 5. Star Wars A New Hope and Star Wars what do you call it? Empire Strikes Back. 2 really great movies, fantastic movies. It's really hard for me to choose between the 2 of them. And I you know, everybody loves Empire, and it's a great film. It is a fantastic film. But I also really love New Hope, you know? No, you know what? No. Definitively, New Hope is going to be 5 for me. New Hope is a great film, and I'll tell you what won me over. The Yoda scenes from Empire are fantastic. I think there was a part of me that when we watched it recently, I was like, you know what? I kind of like New Hope better. But no, the Yoda scenes alone are amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Almost makes me want to put it higher. But we're sticking with what we got. So we're going New Hope is ranking number 5 out of the 9. New Hope is a fantastic film. It's really efficient storytelling. It can, you know, the only criticism I have of it is that it can be a little slow, but other than that, I think everything else is really fantastic. I think the visual effects are revolutionary. I think the score is amazing. I think the acting is fun. I think the characters are fun and endearing. I think did I already mention the cinematography? Because it's fantastic. There's so much going for that film. I'm just getting like bopped this entire stream. It's my Kamala. She's... You know what else? I keep forgetting that she has a healing ability because I haven't played as her in so long. So I got to keep that in mind. And I'm pretty sure I have the ability where, like, I can hit that and I'll be resurrected. OMG, the Phantom Menace is in your top 3? Courage. Yeah, you know, we'll get to that in a little bit. I have a lot to say about Phantom Menace. I have a lot to say about Phantom Menace, but we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, and keep in mind, again, like, not taking shots at episode 4. These are great films. I love these films. I think episode 4 is a fantastic film. I think it is a really efficient movie, more so than even Empire, honestly. It reminds me of Harry Potter 3, and why I like Harry Potter 3 so much is it's just such an efficient film. As somebody who went to film school, like, I keep forgetting. There we go. See, I can use my my healing ability to resurrect myself, which is such a great tool. I got to keep that in mind more often. And I think I added that to my character, to Kamala, because I kept getting downed. But yeah, so episode 4 is just super efficient. And, you know, there's not a lot of Star Wars in it. It's very, like, early in the franchise. Obviously, it's the beginning of the franchise. But Darth Vader has his moments. But really, like, the big obstacle that I almost called him Peter, but Luke has to overcome in the end is, you know, himself and his kind of, you know, sense of wonder and all of that. And I really, really like that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything. The only thing that I have that's negative to say about New Hope is that I think the pacing is a little slow. I think it can be a little slow sometimes, and that's about it. Other than that, it's an amazing movie, you know? For a million reasons. It's so good. It's so hard to rank that. Even when like before the sequel trilogy came out, and Empire was like towards what was the top of my list, because I really only considered Phantom Menace like top recently, recently being like the last like 3 years. But you know, since that sequel trilogy came out, it caused me to like re-examine the whole franchise. But Empire was the top of my list for a while, but even then it was hard for me to like consider New Hope like lower because it was such a great movie. It's such a great movie. We should make a rank of Harry Potter movies in the future. Oh, you know it. I will. So, for future reference, again, on YouTube, I want to do, like, more streams, but I want my Twitch to be where I stream like, predominantly. But when I come on YouTube, I want to have, like, an expressed purpose, and so that's why I kind of have these rankings, right? Like, we come here, we're talking about, you know, something completely different. We're ranking these movies. We have a purpose, you know? And so I do have a Harry Potter ranking that I would like to do for a future video. I had this Star Wars one planned, and I thought, like, for you know, Star Wars Day, it would make sense, you know? But yeah, again, I don't know what to say. Stuff I love. The stuff I love about New Hope is the really quiet moments, is the cinematography. I really love the practical effects, and I really love looking at the robots. I think the robots are my favorite, and not the main robots, like the junkyard background robots. I really, really love. Yeah, I love Mark Hamill in that movie. I think he's really earnest. Probably Mark Hamill is my favorite in that movie. You know what I mean? Not of all of the movies, but like in New Hope, I think he's my favorite actor. I think he's my favorite character. I love Mark Hamill. I'm a huge fan of him as a person. And I really love him in New Hope. I have like hiccups / burps. Yeah, and I love the, you know what else I love? I love the Millennium Falcon in that movie, and I love that everybody is in it, and I love space travel. Like, for example, like being in here, it was one of my favorite parts of Avengers, right? Is being on the helicarrier and kind of exploring this like sci-fi like ship. I really love that kind of fantasy. I love that idea. I love like pirate ships and stuff like that when I was a kid, and space, like being a space pirate essentially, is really cool to me. And so I love the idea of like swashbuckling on like a spaceship, and that's kind of what I get vibes from on the helicarrier in this game, and that's what I really love in New Hope, is that kind of fantasy, is being like, ooh, we're on a ship, and you know, we can go underneath the floorboards and blah 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 blah. Mark Hamill is a myth. He is Luke and also the Joker. He's a legend. I love Mark Hamill. I've never, you know, he has so much joy for what he does. And it's so much passion, and it's just, he's always been so cool to me. There are some space pirates in Star Wars, absolutely. Also in X-Men. That's what when I think of space pirates, I think of the X-Men. But I love this, I love the imagination of that. I love the fun of being on a spaceship and kind of like being like, good morning, oh, you're playing you know, monster chess, like, oh, that's fun, alien chess, like, I really, really love that, and that's one of my favorite things about New Hope, is getting to see them chill and seeing, like, Han just, like, lay back in his chair and stuff like that, and that stuff is really awesome. Oh, hey! Oh, my cat is dead. I mean, asleep. Like, dead asleep on my lap. Kamala. Oh, my gosh. This is so much fun to hug. I love this so much. So yeah, I love A New Hope, and it is number 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list is Secret Empire. No, is Empire Strikes Back. Now, episode 4, Kamala is the biggest Avengers fan. She really is. And I think she's such a fun character. She's such a unique character for like, she was Phil Coulson before Phil. Oh no, I guess she was around after Phil. Now that I think about it. But she's a better Phil Coulson, I think. Wow, that's so weird to think about, that Kamala came out after Phil Coulson. Wow, that's so bizarre. Because she feels like she's been around for way longer than that. And respect for Kamala being a fan that doesn't hate her franchise, for sure. She's aware of the tropes, though. You know, she's definitely mentioned, like, you know, oh, this is such a trope. But, like, I don't think she has any hatred in her heart, you know? I think that's to go on a side tangent. One of the weird things about Kamala being written by other people is, like, some people write her as, like, a regular, like their perception of a millennial or Gen X is like, you know, sometimes Kamala's like, oh, texting and Instagram. Like, I've seen people write her like that, or like, oh, I'm so triggered. But like, if you really read like her main book, she's really not like that. She's goofy and she's silly and she's more like the main character of oh, well, I guess she has her moments too, but no, she is. I guess that's exactly what I'm talking about, isn't it? I don't know. She does. She reminds me of the main character of Malcolm versus the Michaels, which, by the way, if you're not aware, well, I'm not even gonna explain the joke. But yeah, Marcus versus the Machines. That's the. She reminds me of that. She was created. My two favorite. My two female Muslims, right? I don't know actually. I don't know if they're both Muslim. But I don't know for sure what their you know, what their background is. I don't want to say for sure because I don't know what their ethnicity is, but putting religion aside, I'm pretty sure they are. One of them I think is really awesome, and I've watched her TED Talks before, but I don't know what her specific background is. But I'm pretty sure she's of a similar ethnicity to Kamala. At least I'm pretty sure of that. I don't know about religion though. I know one of them is Pakistani woman. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure, but I was pretty sure that they're Pakistani. I don't know about Muslim. But anyway, moving back to Star Wars. You asleep? You asleep on my lap? Moving back to Star Wars, Episode 5, you know, there's a reason why people love it so much. There's a reason why Star Wars has become like this prestige, right? And it's because of, in my opinion, it's because of Episode 5. It's because of, you know, their commitment to telling a gripping drama, and kind of take a risk with like, Luke, I am your father. Like, it seems such a cliche now, but like, I feel like that was pretty risky back then, you know? You know, sure, soap operas were a thing, and that was a common trope, but I do feel like it was pretty risky. I love the scenes with Yoda. I love training montages, and I love specifically Luke's training in that film. I feel like it's really awesome and fantastic, and I love, you know, Luke coming through and being like, you know, people talk about like, oh, Luke doesn't have any flaws or whatever. Like, he was, you know, it's so rude of Rey to be rude to Obi-Wan, right? Like in The Last Jedi, like, how dare she? Not Obi-Wan, wow. Luke Skywalker, it's rude of her to be rude to him, and it's like Luke did that to Yoda in Empire. You know, he's like, oh, I'm looking for a great master. You can't be him. And Yoda loves that, and that's what he has to learn. Is, you know, it's not physical strength that you need to learn. And that's a really, like, it's a really cool, and I love his outfit in that movie. He looks way cooler in that movie. A lot of people don't like him after his scar, after the car accident, but I think he looks awesome in general, like in that movie, not related to the scar, but just like his outfit in the swamp is one of my favorite, like, Luke outfits. I had an action figure of him when I was a kid, and I was like, this is the coolest Luke figure. I used to take that figure and freeze him in my freezer upside down, to like mimic the scene in that movie. Yeah, and Lando's cool. You know, Lando's a total cool dude. Darth Vader is also awesome in that movie. I'm not a big Boba Fett fan or Jango Fett fan or fan of the Fetts. I'm not a Mandalorian fan, so I don't really have much to say about that. But I like... what kind of skin should we wear for Kamala right now? Let's do this one. You reminded me that the Mitchells versus the Machines still need to watch it. Oh, cool! I didn't know that you haven't watched it yet. Yeah, it's that's what I was talking about. That Kamala reminds me of the main character of that film. I loved that movie, by the way. I thought it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But there's a lot to love in Empire, and I'm sorry for doing nose stuff. The fans love the Mandalorians. Yeah, they really do. Mandalorians are the absolute. They're like the What could I say? They're like the I don't know. Like see, for comics, I feel like it's so different because, you know, in comics, I feel like villains get celebrated. Well, no, it's kind of the same thing because, you know, it started out with, you know, the Fets, and they're not even real Mandalorians. But we wouldn't have that lore if it wasn't for those characters, you know, people just liking that villain. So for, like, comics, I feel like Venom is the same way, where, like, Venom is a character that people love. And, you know, for Marvel, and then DC, it's the Joker, where, like, it transcends the medium itself. Like, I know people who have never watched Star Wars who watched The Mandalorian, you know?
We have to put a stop to it.
But I'm not a big Mandalorian fan. But anyway, much better light. I kind of wanted that Kate Bishop skin, the monotomatic one. I should have just pulled the trigger. What was I thinking? Maybe they'll come back in the future. I wasn't into all of them, but I thought about the Kate Bishop one, you know? Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff about the movie. I think the best thing is just the Yoda scenes. I think the Yoda scenes are some of my favorite stuff. I love training arcs. I love seeing people arc. I guess I'm not as into the Han and Leia stuff, you know? I think their romance, you know, they definitely have a chemistry, but I think their romance kind of weirds me out sometimes. But they have a fun adventure, and I like the Cloud City. The Cloud City is really dope. Lando is really cool. Again, the Darth Vader stuff is really awesome. It's a good movie. It's a really, really good movie, and it introduces. I think it's more committed to theming the film than the previous film was, you know? I don't think that the Mandalorians are actually villains. I would see them more as neutral or anti-heroes, for sure, but I'm just saying, like, they started out as villains, you know what I mean? Kind of like Venom. Again, like, Venom started out as a villain. He started out as a bad guy. Not the Mandalorians, but, again, the Fets, like, you know, Boba Fett, Jango Fett, they're the bad guys, you know? That's how they started out. Even if they're just a bounty hunter, that's how they started out, is being a villain. And Venom was the same thing, where, like, when Venom was first introduced, he was just a villain. Over time, that Black Widow skin is one of my least favorite skins in the game, by the way. I really dislike that Black Widow skin. No offense to that person. I want that. I want this. I want this skin. Give me your skin. Sounds weird. Venom is, you know, they've done so much, and I'm somebody who thinks that Venom should be a villain. Like, I don't like him as an anti-hero, but, like, Marvel and fans want him as an anti-hero so badly, or a hero, and so he's just become one, you know? He's become a victim of circumstance, and blah, 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 blah. And it just went from, you know, villain to hero. And even the Joker kind of has that anti-hero vibe now. You know, the Joker film, even though I haven't really seen it, from what I understand, and from what I've heard people say, it humanizes him to the point where, like, I've heard people say, like, it's not his fault. He's just a victim of circumstance. And, like, it's the same kind of thing with Venom, where it's like, it's not Eddie Brock's fault. He's just a victim of circumstance. And it's not even Venom's fault. He's just a victim of circumstance. Like, it's always, like, undoing the villain nature, which is weird to me. I like him as an anti-hero. I could never see Joker as an anti-hero. I don't think Joker could ever be an anti-hero, but I can see where people are, like humanizing him a little bit more recently, you know? Which isn't a bad thing with most characters, but I just think for the Joker specifically, the interesting thing about the Joker is that, like, he isn't very easily moralized, you know? And I haven't seen the film, and I'm sure it does some interesting stuff about, like, general politics and mental health politics. But I don't think that's really representative of the Joker, you know what I mean? I think the whole thing that makes the Joker interesting to me is that he's a simple character, you know? And Batman can't solve him because he's so simplistic. How can you reform, you know, Batman is trying to reform these people. He's trying to undo this stuff. It's kind of like Carnage from Spider-Man, where it's like, I want to reform these heroes, but Carnage cannot be reformed. He's so off the deep end that, like, I can't do it. you know, Joker doesn't have morals. He only does what he does because he wants chaos. Yes, exactly. And I feel like the Joker movie, if what I've heard is correct, like kind of undoes that. You know what I mean? But I don't want to give full opinions on that movie because I haven't seen it yet, so can't really say. Anyway, episode 5 is my number 4 ranking. I love the movie. I think it's fantastic. Really ups the stakes. It's probably, you know, one of the better middle chapters I've ever seen in a trilogy. It's a really solid middle chapter and does a really great job of raising the stakes and expanding the world and doing everything that I think a sequel should do. And I think Luke is so much better in that movie than he is in the first movie. So fantastic. Yeah, I love it. I love that movie. Let's move on to ranking number 3. Number 3 of this 9 episode ranking is, drumroll please, Star Wars Episode 1, A Phantom Menace, or The Phantom Menace, sorry. Yeah, Phantom Menace for me is number 3. So, a couple years ago, when I was first, because I'd never really ranked like my favorite Star Wars films, I would say like, yeah, Empire is my favorite for sure, because Lord knows it's not the prequels. But then somebody had asked me like, what is your favorite, like what is your ranking for? But before the sequels came out, what is your ranking of your favorite Star Wars movies? And I was like, or I guess it was after episode 7 had come out, and I was like, huh, you know, I guess I don't know. See, right now I should be, you know, giving myself health instead of avoiding it. I got to remember that that's an ability that I have. I'm like, huh, I don't know, because at that point I had watched the movies so many times, and I was like, you know what? I watched The Phantom Menace so much. I watch it so much. Of all the Star Wars movies, it's possible at that time, actually still, it's possible that I watched The Phantom Menace more than any other Star Wars movie. Since I was a kid, I loved it. As an adult, I loved it. Even when I kind of realized that it's not a quality film, I have so much merchandise from it. You know, I was so, like, indoctrinated into the merchandising machine. And Phantom Menace, yeah, it's just, I think it's a really funny, it's so bad it's good. Like, it's like The Room, where it's so bad it's good, and I'm not bored at all, you know? Like, when I say that I was bored by Attack of the Clones, I am not bored at all. And I remember telling my friend, like, I think Phantom Menace might be up there, and they were like, no, come on. And I'm like, I'm serious. And they're like, no, seriously. Like, they wouldn't believe me, and it more solidified my opinion that, like, yeah, like, when we're talking about enjoyment, when we're talking about favorites, I enjoy The Phantom Menace so much. And I love it. It's so nostalgic for me. It's so funny in a so bad it's good way. And, shocker, there are actually things I like about the movie unironically. It's like a Transformers movie. Interesting. Or a Fast and the Furious movie. Definitely closer to a Fast and the Furious movie. I think I get more... Well, you know what? No, the Transformers movies are funny. I think Phantom Menace... whatever. I don't want to compare it to those necessarily. But I think on the surface value, you know, off the dome, I think there's more fun to be had in Phantom Menace than in... what's it called? Transformers films. I think Transformers films are more devoid of fun. But anyway, Phantom Menace has things I genuinely like. Like, rewatching it recently, I really went in and I was like, let's challenge myself to love this movie. And there are things I like about it. For example, I love young Anakin. Even though he's annoying, and even though I love... And he's not annoying, by the way. Like, he's a kid. He's whatever. But, like, I think he's funny annoying, where it's like, yippee! And, like, what, are you an angel? He has some of my favorite lines ever. What is it? Where he's talking about the explosives in their heads. And he's like, he blows you up. Like, oh, so good. He's got so many great lines in that movie. But I like young Anakin, and I like him and Qui-Gon specifically. That's probably my favorite part of the movie, is having Qui-Gon explain, like, the world of Jedi and the universe to young Anakin. And I really, really love that. I love Qui-Gon, even though he's not an amazing character, and even though he's kind of a morally, you know, weird character, I still like him, and I think he's charismatic. You know, there's that great moment in the Phantom Menace review by Plinkett, which I love those reviews, by the way, the Red Letter Media reviews. And he does this great scene at the beginning of it where he's asking people, like, tell me characters from Star Wars. What are their characters like? And he mentions Qui-Gon Jinn. And, you know, I think for Star Wars fans, you can recognize the character a little bit better. But, you know, people were like, oh, he's stoic. And that's true. Like, yeah, he's stoic. But I think he's also, again, like, he's a little morally gray. Plinkett points that out as well. And he's a dreamer. He's a hippie. He's a little sarcastic. I define him as a hippie more than a stoic. I don't really see him as stoic, you know? He strikes me as the super granola hippie. And I like the conflict between him and Obi-Wan. You know, Obi-Wan is not as good of a character in that movie, but I like the simple conflict of, like, I follow the rules and I don't. I think that's a really interesting dynamic, you know? And I like that as being this kind of escape for Anakin. And I think they do have cool scenes. Do I like metachlorians? No, not really. But as I mention all the time, there's tons of stuff I don't like in all the things I love. Like comics. Every week in comics, there's a new piece of lore that I'm not in love with. Metachlorians might as well be the same thing, you know? Do I love metachlorians? No, I don't. But I kind of like the scene where Qui-Gon is explaining metachlorians and explaining, you know, that stuff to him. Just simply like this idea of Anakin learning and you know, kind of being introduced to a world he has never even been given the opportunity to be a part of. You know what I mean? So I like those scenes genuinely. The last scene at the end, I will give you, it is a fun fight scene. I think it's interesting because the Revenge of the Sith has a better reason to fight, but it goes on for too long and it kind of like beats a dead horse. But the Darth Maul sequence is it has no reason, and it kind of frustrates me because I dislike that. You know, I dislike that they don't really have any reason to be fighting Darth Maul other than he's bad. You know, I wish they gave more reason to Darth Maul, and I wish there was more to him as a character. I wish instead of giving so much time to the Emperor, they gave more time to Darth Maul. You know, or anything else, honestly. Just give more time to Darth Maul. I would have liked more time to Darth Maul, especially since the rest of the franchise is going to be so obsessed with him. But that being said, I like the dynamic between, you know, if the emotional core is not overcoming a significant villain, because again, Darth Maul is kind of a nobody, I think the emotional core of that fight scene is surviving as, you know, mentor and master. And I don't like the over choreography. I know a lot of people do. And I know it's like, you know, now it's accepted lore that, like, you know, Jedi do that. There's a lot of things about, like, Star Wars that, like, is just accepted lore now. But at the time, it was like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, why are they so good at... I prefer the sequel fights where there's, like, emotion and where there's, like, sweat and blood and, like, you're getting tired from fighting and, like, you know... But it's, again, it's another I'm probably more upset with that than I am metachlorians. That, like, it's accepted lore that Jedis are just super choreographed. But that being said, it is still an interesting fight scene to watch, and the music is fun, and it's just a spectacle of it's just spectacle. You know, it's all spectacle. But I do like the little moments. I like the kind of... Oh, yeah, can't forget how stupid Force Fast is. And I hate that it's in the movie because I do really like the moment at the end where Obi-Wan is prevented from saving Qui-Gon because he can't go fast enough. Like, I like that little moment, but it is totally undermined by the fact that they can do forced speed. Like, you know, like, or forced speed. Like, what's up with that? Why would you even put that in the freaking movie? It's so silly to me. But again, overall, you know, I like genuine things about the movie. Qui-Gon is one of my favorite things about the movie. Young Anakin is one of my favorite things about the movie. And I do think it's a fun first chapter. Fun fact about that movie, it's my producer, quote unquote, it's her favorite Star Wars film. She watched that one and she was like, yo, Star Wars is awesome. I'm going to have a great time. And I'm like, just so you know, people hate this movie. And she was like, that's cool. That was mad fun. She quotes Jar Jar Binks all the time. She loves Jar Jar Binks. Actually, Darth Maul got more complex in the animated shows. I'm aware. I'm fully aware of how complex he is in the animated shows. I just wish that complexity... They didn't even need to get to that complexity in that movie. They just needed to give him more than nothing, you know? It was kind of like my complaints with Storm in the X-Men films. Like, why doesn't Darth Maul have a reason other than just... Like, kind of make him like Steppenwolf from, you know, Justice League. Like, make him an understudy who really wants to graduate, you know? That would have been really cool. And have that shown in who he is instead of expositioning it. OMG, she loves Jar Jar Binks. She is a special one. She does. And it, you know, she brings up a great point, which I bring up all the time, you know? It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be silly. You know, all those animated shows, they have these silly little sidekicks, and they're awesome, and they're fun and cute. Freaking Baby Yoda is a fun, silly little sidekick. Is Jar Jar Binks annoying? Sure. But, like, it's a Star Wars movie, you know what I mean? He's not that bad. I mean, whatever. Like, if you think he's awful, like, I'm not going to tell you not to think he's that bad. But, like, he's not that big of a deal to me. The only thing I dislike about Jar Jar Binks is that he's that trope where, like, he accidentally saves everybody. He accidentally, like, kills a bunch of droids. I'm never a fan of that. Oh, that reminds me of the scene from the Attack of the Clones where, like, they're on the conveyor belt. Boy, that was a terrible scene. I hated that scene. Can you leave it alone? He hates these, or he loves them. He takes paper towel rolls and he eats them. What is up with you? What is up with you and the paper towel rolls? So, yeah, I love The Phantom Menace. You know, it took me a while to come to terms with that. I've watched it maybe more than any other Star Wars film. I think it's super funny. It's fun to mock. It's, you know, it's like it's the room levels of bad. It really is, and that is endearing in such a great way. But then there are also minor things that I really like unironically. Do you think that he is more annoying than C-3PO? I don't think C-3PO is that annoying. I do think that they're similar. I don't think that they're too far off. I don't find C-3PO annoying. I know some people do. I don't find him annoying. I think he's probably more annoying in, what's it called? Rise of Skywalker? Bro. He's just biting. Why do you do this? He's eating paper. Why are you eating paper? Paper does not belong in your stomach. He's confused now. We just find paper towel rolls and they're destroyed. Recently, he started doing it to toilet paper. I guess it's a cat thing. I've never seen cats do this. But I know that they do it online. You know, like, or I've never seen it happen in real life. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think C-3PO is... I think C-3PO is definitely more endearing than Jar Jar Binks. I think C-3PO... I think Jar Jar Binks, if they wanted to make him a better character, they needed to flesh out his little story about, like, why he was banished a little bit more, you know? Your cats seem to hate you. No, my cats don't hate me. My cats are wonderful. They're just, you know, they're babies. This is a kitten, you know? He's 8 months old, I think, now. Whoa. Controller vibrated. So, you know, he's just a little baby. Having cats is, you know, it's like having, you know, not to be cringe, but like it is. It's like having, it's not like having children, but it's having somebody to take care of. So they're gonna require a lot of attention, you know. My cats are wonderful. They love us. That's actually the one thing I can say that I'm pretty positive that they do love us, you know. They fight to be... The only thing that they don't love is potentially each other. But they definitely do love us. Like, the amount of times they rest on our laps or talk to us or cuddle with us. Like, if that's not love, I don't know what is, you know. All right, let's move out of Phantom Menace, you know. Let's see. Oh, wait, let's check out our gear. Let's move on from Phantom Menace to Episode 2. I mean, wow. To ranking number 2. Well, we still have 2 more left. We have 2 movies left. Oh, you think... Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, you guessed it. Yeah, so number 2 on my my Star Wars ranking list is Return of the Jedi. I forgot that you knew what my number 1 is. So Return of the Jedi, I just think is a really awesome film. And it's funny because, keep this in mind, again, for all of you young people, and I count as that because I wasn't alive when Return of the Jedi came out. But for all the old heads out there, they should be able to remember that when Return of the Jedi came out, people hated it. Also, people hated Empire, but eventually people loved Empire. And for years, Return of the Jedi was considered the worst of the Star Wars movies. Why? Because it wasn't as, like... I guess it wasn't, if I can, you know, guess why people dislike it, not to put words into people's mouths, but it wasn't as dark as Empire was, and one of the main reasons was the Ewoks, and the Ewoks were hated almost as much as Jar Jar is, you know? And this is where I always say, like, there's a cycle to these kinds of fandoms, whether it's fans growing up or whether it's time, you know, distancing yourself from those more upset feelings. Eventually, things that are dunked on and disliked for a really long time are gonna be favored, in my opinion, you know? And so the Ewoks were hated, and Return of the Jedi was disliked for years. And then the prequels came out, and then suddenly the original trilogy was perfect. It was untouchable. But for years, there were people who felt like Return of the Jedi was awful, you know? And I just think that's really interesting. And now, of course, you know, the prequels were awful in the 2000s, right? Everybody hated the prequels in the 2000s, but now the sequel trilogy came out, and now the prequels are suddenly celebrated as these amazing films, when that really wasn't the case before. But that being said, why do I like Return of the Jedi? I really love the ideas that it has. I like the ideas that it chooses to express, you know. I love the conversations throughout the movie. Hey, look, the other cat is here. Come. Do you want to come? You can come up here. You just got to share with your brother. Come. Hi, buddy. Be nice to each other. It's okay. You two shared a womb, so you can share my lap. Okay, bye. But, you know, people on the internet are really hypocritical, for sure. But this even predates the internet. You know, well, not predates it, but predates, like, current internet. You know what I mean? That's an interesting cap nameplate. I haven't seen that before. I feel like I know that artist. But Return of the Jedi, I really like the ideas that it has to express. And here's the thing. You know, there are retcons that people really hate in the sequel trilogy, but Return of the Jedi and Empire has a lot of retcons. And if you don't know, that's a retroactive continuity change. That's changing the continuity later instead of intending it. You know, when Carrie Fisher or when Leia is revealed to be Luke's sister, that's a huge deal. And they basically spend an entire scene just retconning it and explaining it to the audience. But I actually really like that scene. It's very emotional, and I think it's really well done. And I think, like, people who criticize the retcons in modern films, you know, just remember, sure, you might like certain retcons more than others, but Star Wars has always had retcons in them, even in the same trilogy, you know? It just so happens that I like that retcon. I really enjoyed seeing these characters interact with each other and seeing Luke kind of come to terms with himself and seeing Luke face the Emperor and Vader. And, I mean, basically the whole movie, I just really love Luke, you know? I love Luke, and I love his kind of emotional journey with other people. I love seeing him juxtaposed with other characters, and I also love the black costume. I love his black costume. I love the green lightsaber. I'm a big fan of all of that. Yeah, I love, I mean, that's really the simple, you know, end and beginning of it. You know, it sucks that it's another Death Star. It really does. I hate that. I wish there wasn't 3 of the 9 Star Wars films that had the same, you know, plot. But that being said, I really do love the ideas that are expressed, and I love the character moments. Back hurts for some reason. So yeah, I love Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean? And that's really the best I can say. You know, I like the character stuff. I love Vader's conversation with Luke before they go to see the Emperor. You know, and obviously I love the turn at the end. I actually don't dislike the Ewoks. You know, I like the Ewoks. I think they're fine. You know, in the same way that that Jar Jar is fine. They do the same thing that I dislike, though, which is, you know, the little, what's it called? The, like, we accidentally saved everybody kind of thing. Or I guess they're more intentional. They're brutal. It feels a bit awkward when you realize that Luke and Leia kissed each other. I mean, yeah, it is, but, like, you know, it's, I mean, we'll get to, oh, I didn't get to talk about this. So let's go back. It is a little awkward, but that's more proof where it's like, you know, people always talk about how, you know, oh, it's so bad that the sequel trilogy didn't plan out. How could they do that? Well, neither did the original trilogy, and that's proof right there, you know? Luke and Leia kissing, and not just the first one, but the second movie. It's basically proof that, like, that wasn't what they were intending, you know? That is a retcon that they made. And it's not to say that that's bad. I feel like that's a very common part of nerd media, you know, is being like, you know what? Never mind. You know, soap opera is a very important part of nerd media. And I think that it's not alone. I think that the sequel trilogy is not alone. So whenever anybody says like, oh, they weren't thinking it through, like if you dislike the movies, like that can be your reason, but just remember that that's not the only trilogy that did that. You know, it was the original trilogy that started that, and it was because they didn't know they were making a trilogy when the film was first made. But anyway, wow, there's so many robots. Where is everybody? What are they doing? Where's the team? Am I alone here? Maybe they went for the optional stuff first. So we didn't get to talk about this, and I kind of wanted to mention it. My take on the kiss at the end of the Rise of Skywalker, and you can totally interpret it as a romantic kiss if that's what you want, but I actually really don't. I interpret it as a platonic kiss, and I know that sounds weird. I'm not saying that we should all go kiss our friends, but in my opinion, the last couple of movies leading up to Rise of Skywalker have been so tense and have been so deadly. You know what I mean? Like, Rey and Kylo have been enemies, and they've not been able to express positive emotions toward each other for a long time. And then in Jedi, they're able to talk to each other across, like, universes. And, not universes, but, like, you know, across the galaxy. And that's really significant because, you know, they don't have to communicate via violence. They can speak to one another, and that's super significant. And then in the final movie, for the first time, they're in person and they're not trying to murder one another. And I feel like it's just a really big expression of joy. That's how I interpreted it. And I know maybe I sound like a goofball or maybe I sound weird, but I don't think it was necessarily a romantic kiss. It could be. It wouldn't ruin the film if it was, but that's the way I choose to interpret it, is that it was a huge expression of emotion, you know, after so much of trying to hurt one another. You know, if you were spending, you know, years trying to kill this person and then they saved your life, it'd be like, whoa, like what? That is the worst part of playing random. They don't work they don't work with each other. And the Ewoks are cute. Yes, the Ewoks are cute and deadly. But anyway, so Return of the Jedi. I think I do like the sister retcon. I think I'm okay with it. And I think it's just because I love the scene. I love that scene of them kind of reconvening and talking and again, I really like all the Luke stuff in that movie. I think the Luke stuff is really fantastic. I guess I'm not a huge Han Solo fan. He's fun. He's totally fun, but he's not like my favorite character. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love Return of the Jedi. I think it's very earnest. I love that it's very dedicated. Sometimes to, you know, maybe a corny angle. It's very dedicated to expressing emotion, and it's very dedicated to being genuine and themes, and I love that, you know? Whereas, you know, even though there are themes in Empire, maybe it's more dedicated to being shocking, you know? But anyway. Number one. Let's talk about my number one. As you've already guessed, and as it's already been said in chat, my number one favorite Star Wars... Hello? My number one favorite Star Wars film is The Last Jedi. And it took me a while to get into it. Now, let me give my quick backstory. I'll probably make a video about this someday, so excuse me for repeating myself, but the quick synopsis is, even though I liked Force Awakens, I was burnt out on Star Wars. I didn't like Rogue One, and it was just so much Star Wars stuff after Disney got it, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about all this Star Wars stuff. I don't want a Star Wars movie every other year, you know? And so The Last Jedi was being advertised. I'm like, it's not going to even be that interesting. I don't even know if I'm going to see it. And it came out, and I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll check it out. My roommate asked me to go see it. We saw Force Awakens together. We saw the Rise of Skywalker together, and I was like, fine, you know what? Let's go see it. And I was shocked because in the theater, I thought it was amazing. And I probably thought it was amazing for the same reason a lot of people disliked it, because it was different and it was unique and it was subversive. You know, I felt like Star Wars was really stale and it was all doing the same stuff. And I felt like I was really impressed by what it did differently. And there was a really great quote that a friend of mine gave me when The Last Jedi came out. And he was basically like, subversive isn't a genre of film. And I never said it was, but I think that's really funny. And I think it's, you know, true that, like, you can't make a movie just based on, like, doing what people don't expect. But I think, you know, the movie has more going for it than that. I think the movie is amazing. I think it's one of my favorite movies. And when I saw it, I was like, that might be my favorite Star Wars movie. But I was like, I don't want to make that judgment call. The same way when I finished The Rise of Skywalker, I was like, I didn't like that, but I don't want to make that judgment call just yet. Let's wait. And I waited 2 years until The Rise of Skywalker came out, and I had watched The Last Jedi, I think 4 times at that point, or no, 3 times, and then I decided, yes, The Last Jedi is my favorite. Oh, that's a teammate. I was like, yes, it is my favorite Star Wars movie. So it took me a while to come to that conclusion. I wanted to give myself time to really, you know, let myself decide. It's decided. I love it. I think it's a fantastic film. I think it does a really great job of doing something new and unique and not doing it randomly like a lot of people seem to think. I love, spoiler alert, I love that Snoke dies. I think it's really in service of the story that is being told. It's not just meant to be shock value. You know, there's a story being told and there's a meta story being told. There's a dedication to themes and feelings and emotions and also characters and their arcs and their relationships. I love the movie. I think it's fantastic. One of my favorite scenes the whole movie. I also, all right, one of my favorite scenes is, I love all of the Force dialogue that Kylo and Rey have. I love that stuff. Oh, also going back to The Rise of Skywalker, I love the fight on the Death Star, the fallen Death Star, the water lightsaber fight. Awesome fight. Super dope. But anyway, in Jedi, I love that they have this Force dialogue. I think it's genius. One of the coolest ideas ever, you know, built upon in Star Wars. But I also, my hand is cramping. I also love, what's it called? That scene where after they like talk and Rey is like, I saw into your mind. I know you're gonna do good. And then Kylo is like, well, I saw into your mind, and I know you're gonna do the right thing. And she like is like, what? Like, she thought she had the upper hand because she was using the Force, but you know, he uses the Force too, and his version of the Force told him this. What a fascinating idea! I love it. I love Finn in that movie. I love Finn in all of the prequels. I love him the most in Force Awakens, but I think he has a really cool arc in the second movie as well. I think he has a cool arc in Jedi as well. Canto Bight, definitely the weakest part of the movie, but I don't dislike it at all. I wholeheartedly like Canto Bight. It's not that long. It's weird, I think, that people are so against it. And, like, in weird ways where they're like, oh, we get it. Like, don't be mean to animals. And it's like, all right, calm down. Like, it's talking about, like, consumerism and you know, over... like capitalism to some extent, like over, you know, the military industrial complex, like over, I'm trying to think of the word or the phrase, over buying, over consuming. It has a lot of criticisms there, and I think they're relevant to the story that's being told. I like those sequences. They're not my favorite part. My favorite part is, you know, Rey and Kylo. I think everything involving Rey and Kylo is awesome. Now, when it comes to Luke, again, I think it's really odd that people are so frustrated with Luke's arc. And, you know, it's like the people who dislike that movie call it, I've heard people call it the worst movie ever made, and I can't agree with that at all. You can say it's your, like, least favorite, but it's like, there are much worse films. The Last Jedi is the most controversial movie of the franchise. I think more than Phantom Menace and Rise of Skywalker. You're absolutely right. Rise of Skywalker people liked way more than The Last Jedi, and I think it's because of Luke, you know, more than anything else. And it's weird because a lot of these fans who dislike the sequels love the prequels, And one of the biggest changes that the prequels does to the original trilogy is that it makes it so Yoda goes from this serious guy to this goofy, wacky jerk. You know, Yoda's a jerk in Empire. And in the prequels, he's a jerk, but he's super serious. And nobody seems to talk about that. That's a very similar change to Luke being this kind of happy-go-lucky, like, dude to being in Empire. And a lot of people are like, he wouldn't do that. And it's like, he was 19 in those movies, or 21. He was young. What, he's not allowed to change in that time? I don't understand, like, why he's not allowed to change. And as somebody who loves character writing and characters, I love that he changed. I feel like it tells a better story. I feel like it tells a very interesting story about perseverance and you know, still being heroic and still being powerful even if you feel like you've given up, you know? Because everybody has those moments of doubt where they're like, oh, am I not doing the right thing? Am I making a mistake? Did I make a mistake that's irredeemable? Like, that is what he's struggling with. And I think it's really interesting as a conflict for him to deal with. And I don't think it's necessarily fair to criticize the movie because you don't like the arc that he went through. I mean, you can have whatever opinion you want, obviously. Like, I like the Phantom Menace, right? But for reasons of my own. But I just think, like, to call it the worst movie ever made is so odd. Because I don't agree. You know, I just don't agree. That can be your opinion, but I just do not agree with that necessarily. But I love Rey in that movie. I think she's really cool. I love her training arc, and a lot of people are like, she didn't get trained enough, and like, sure, I guess she got trained in a... Oh, you want to know the worst thing about that movie? And this is the thing. I love that movie, but it is not perfect. It is far from perfect. It's got its mistakes, you know. That phone call joke at the beginning, I'm not a big fan of. But the biggest problem with The Last Jedi, and this is a huge problem with The Last Jedi, worse than any kind of, like, these characters aren't written well. Like, it's, the pacing is really bad. Like, it doesn't have a good understanding of its internal clock. Unless I missed something, and I've watched the movie like 4 times. What do you call it? Canto Bight, Rey. What is the timetable of all of that? Is that all happening in one day? Because I think Rey is meant to be interpreted that, like, she's been training for like at least a week. But the way they show it, it feels like it's all happening in the same day. I choose to interpret it as it's been a week because, you know, she sleeps and night and day passes. And sure, it's space, so time passes differently. But, like, Canto Bight happens in one night, and, like, the space chase, which takes, like, forever, happens in, like, hours. And, you know, Rey happens in, like, a week. Like, it just, that is all super confusing. And then, like, she still arrives for the final conflict. I would like Rian Johnson to explain what the exact timetable is for me. Because I feel like it's a little off. But yeah, yes, that is my ranking. I'll keep talking about The Last Jedi until we're done with this mission, but that's my ranking. Let's go through it. So, number 9 on my list is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Number 8 on my list is Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Number 7 on my list is Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Number 6 on my list is Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Number 5 on my list is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Number 4 on my list is Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Number 3 on my list is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Number 2 on my list is Star Wars Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi. And the number 1 spot on my list is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And I just really like the ideas that The Last Jedi, and then the fact that it has ideas that it wants to express, and very blatantly, you know, a story about failure and a story about, you know, communication, perseverance through these kinds of problems, and disappointment when it doesn't always go that way. You know, I loved the scene. I mean, let's be clear, Kylo and Rey, their relationship is the best part of that trilogy. Their relationship is super fascinating. And I love it for that alone. But seeing Kylo make his decision, seeing Rey make her decision throughout the movie, seeing them, you know, deal with Luke and who he is, all of that is really fascinating. I love the idea of Luke being this living legend and inspiring people. I love the idea that you know, the Force could just be in anybody, you know? It doesn't have to be passed down a lineage. I love that Snoke dies, because it really does serve to prop up Kylo. And it's a really great moment, and it's all about arrogance and failure. Like, all of that stuff is really, really, really cool. Big fan, you know?
Security down. The cell is vulnerable.
Bro, you got another thing coming. Any other things I like about it? I mean, I like the whole thing, you know? I like the whole thing. I like Yoda showing up and talking to Luke about, like, who he used to be and stuff like that. Again, that just serves to show how similar Luke and his drastic change is different than Yoda. Like, did Yoda go crazy or senile, or is he just a silly old man now? I like to think that he's just a silly old man, you know? In time, he subscribed to Qui-Gon Jinn's way of thinking and was like, you know what? I'm not going to take life so seriously. I'm going to goof around, and that's the key to the Force, is not to be this serious dude. So yeah, that's my ranking, everybody. What do you think? And while we have time before the mission ends, let me know what your ranking is. So thoughts on your own, on my ranking, and what is yours? I'm happy to see so many prequel fans now. Again, people really hated those movies, and you know, when they came out in the early 2000s. But you know, it always makes me happy when something it brings people joy. You know, even if I dislike that thing, you know, I'm happy that somebody can enjoy it. And I like it too. I enjoy it as well. But like, somebody that can be their favorite film, that's super cool to me. The most easy rank that I can do is the Monsterverse. 1 is Godzilla vs. Kong, 2 is Kong Skull Island, 3 is Godzilla, and 4 is Godzilla King of the Monsters. But the last one is a bit tricky for you. Yeah, for sure. I always know how that is with the, you know, the ranking can get a little bit odd. I thought your rank was really encouraging and pretty personal. Thanks, I appreciate it. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's this weird, somebody had told me, like, recently on Twitter where they were like, your opinion's not objective. You're not being objective. And I was like, I don't need to be objective in my review of media. Media, for the most part, is art, and art is subjective, right? There are objective qualities that you can examine. You know, there's a school that you go to learn objective qualities, or maybe to unlock subjective talents. And I'm aware of that. You know, you can definitely put on your critical lenses and live in the world of objectivity to some extent. But overall, you don't have to be objective when reviewing something. And I resent that idea wholeheartedly, you know? I think a review in a lot of ways is very personal. And that was something, again, I say it all the time. I have these like freeing moments throughout my like young adult life. And when I discovered, when that my friend told me, like, you can't choose Phantom Menace, and I didn't even choose it yet. I was just kind of thinking out loud. He was like, you can't choose Phantom Menace. I was like, no, I think so. And they're like, no, you can't. Like, seriously, what's your real favorite? Like, the fact that they wouldn't allow me to have that as my favorite, it's like, yeah, you know what? It is my favorite. Like, and I think the only reason I wasn't choosing it is because people were telling me I have to choose an objective quality about these films that I like. But you know what? Liking media is more than just saying this was the best made film, you know? It was technically best, like, made the best. And so I encourage everybody to, you know, when you make your lists, keep yourself in mind more than other people. You know what I mean? And if other people do factor in, or if objective qualities factor in, that's good too. Do yourself. But if you're worried that other people are going to judge you because you say, you know, Revenge of the Sith is your favorite Star Wars movie, make it your favorite, you know? I still don't know what my rank is. It's really difficult, actually. I don't think I have a direct personal opinion with each movie. That's totally cool, too. I started this by saying, you know, some people just don't want to or can't. Because, you know, it's not that important to everybody. And honestly, it's not that important to me. I just think it's an interesting way to talk about media, is by doing ranking lists. But you're totally entitled. It's the reason why a lot of people don't do... they don't rank movies with like a score, you know what I mean? Like a 10 out of 10, like, because they feel like that diminishes what they can talk about. Like, people will just look at the score and not listening to what they have to say. But my ranking list was just a vehicle to talk about the movies, you know? But if you could choose your favorite piece of Star Wars media, what would it be? I feel like you're either going to choose Clone Wars, the show, or The Mandalorian. That's what I guess for you. Will you do a Twitch stream in a bit for now? So yes. So again, if you're watching the VOD, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to check out my main channel, it's Carrot Scraps. I make a lot of Marvel's Avengers content, but I also do, you know, content about other collectibles, nostalgia media. I have Star Wars videos planned in the future. I don't know if they're out by the time you're watching this. I have a lot of other content on my YouTube channel, so please check it out. You know, I do a lot of long format, like, videos, and so I hope that's interesting to you. But right now, I'm going to take a break, Juan. I'm going to finish the stream here, and I'm going to take a quick break, eat some food, maybe do some editing on my new YouTube video, and then after that, I'm going to go back on Twitch and stream on my Twitch account, which is at Carrot Scraps, or twitch.tv/Carrot Scraps. So if you want to check me out on Twitch, do that there. For now, it would be The Mandalorian, but I will check out The Bad Batch. Ooh, you think The Bad Batch might be that good? That's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. I'm curious about The Bad Batch. You know me, I love clones. I love clone characters. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do. But this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate everybody joining me today. Duck, Juan, Stamp, thank you so much for stopping by. It's been cool talking about Star Wars. I was happy that this... you know, that I was able to do something for Star Wars Day, May the 4th. Let's see if we get some more announcements. I assume we're just going to get, you know, Bad Batch news. But we'll see if we get anything else. Maybe we will. But I want to thank everybody so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun. Again, my main content is on Carrot Scraps, one word. You know, just search it on YouTube and you should be able to find my stuff. I stream on twitch.tv/Carrot Scraps. More regularly, I do daily, or sorry, I stream every weekday Marvel's Avengers. And I'll do a stream on here every now and again when I have something to talk about or something to rank. We're a little bit more free on Twitch, I feel like. And all my other social media, I've been posting on Instagram again. I've been really having fun posting my collection. So I'm on Instagram again, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, all at Carrot Scraps. Those are all my other social media. So I want to thank everybody so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Have a good one, everybody. I'll see you soon.